Chapter 8: Storytelling, Authenticity, and Being Conversational. While the bulk of this guide should help you navigate the ins and outs, I thought it was proper to talk a little bit about the guts of your presentation. Although there's been so much written over the years, storytelling is still underrated, and I want to briefly share some of my own thoughts on this. I've touched upon some of these elements in various sections, but let's specifically talk a little bit about the value of storytelling in your presentations, no matter what type of presentation you make. At the heart of storytelling is the idea that you're there for your audience and are taking them on a journey. In some way, you have the ability to alter your audience's psychological state. This journey that I'm referring to can relate to any type of presentation, not just sales presentations, for instance. All audiences have emotional needs and current emotional states. If you want to succeed, you need to understand both of these. The best way to understand this, I believe, ties back to authenticity and the heart of your message. Another thing about storytelling is the necessity to, quote, give away more and more of your presentation as you go on, and consequently, more and more of yourself. When I'm in teaching mode, I do this all of the time. Granted, some people in the room understand it better than others, but it's your responsibility as the presenter to offer part of yourself, but also transfer ownership of your story to them. Not trying to get all metaphorical here, but a master chef can create the greatest dishes in the world, discuss them, and show them to you. But you won't feel as though you're part of the experience until the chef gives you a taste. I do sincerely feel that the only way to truly have your audience embrace your words is to, quote, give them your words. Remember, you don't always need to have people agree with the presentation you've made. If you can, great, but rather ask yourself, did they understand and absorb it? Back to the chef analogy. You may not even have liked the dish, but the chef gave you a taste. You experienced it. Language. Authenticity in storytelling also depends on language you use. Use conversational language whenever you can. For example, instead of saying something like, one must consider the ramifications of, try something like, this is important because. This is a better way of not only being more real, but also less distant. I'd also recommend, as appropriate, not to use $50 words when a $5 word will do just fine. I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's true. I'm not suggesting lowering the caliber of your vocabulary. In other words, don't use a steak knife to cut butter. Why use nefarious if evil will do just fine? Why say ascertain if figure out works just as effectively? Actually, the word evil, depending on your topic, may be a more descriptive word and better convey your meaning anyway. I hate to do this, but I'm going to reference politicians one more time. In general, voters resonate more with candidates who use, quote, plain English. Use fancy words when it's called for. In most cases, though, don't overdo it. Be here now. To be here now means to be in the moment, which will also add to your authenticity. Give the impression that you're one of the audience, aware not only of yourself, but also them. Improv has some relevance here. You want to be able to respond rather than react. Reacting takes a lot more thought than responding does. I'm not telling you to not think before you speak, but responding is more natural, authentic, and sincere. This is a valuable tool not only when managing questions, which we'll address in a separate section, but also as you're presenting the guts or, quote, meat of your presentation. When you think about storytelling, think about a time you read a bedtime story to a small child. You were most likely acting out the characters in the story, right? If you had to play several characters at once, you may have even done slightly different voices, change your pitch, etc. Storytelling is a dialogue, not a monologue. When presenting, do the same thing. If you're talking about something that happened to you and a colleague or friend, play each character, so to speak. Pretend talk to that colleague or friend as you present, not to the audience, and vice versa. It takes practice, but you'll see a creative side to you that you didn't even know existed. I know I earlier discussed the power of a smile, so I don't want to come across as hypocritical. Yes, there's power in a smile, but if you're embracing the storytelling technique, smile as the story calls for it. If you're discussing something perplexing, daunting, scary, sad, etc., try your best to adjust your facial expressions and body language to reflect that. If you're just smiling the entire time, then you're defeating the purpose and can come across as inauthentic. If you're describing yourself shoveling snow, mimic the art of shoveling for your audience. If it was hard to shovel, pretend that you're strained and labor.